We're going to talk about what it's like running a business with your spouse.
While you're married to your business partner. I mean, don't get me wrong, we disagree about things, but we always try to be a civil manner.
Why would anybody get behind that? Like,
No.
I wouldn't want to be a part of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome once again to the podcast of champions. I am Nick, also known as That Dude, Jamie Stanley, and this is my better half, my lovely bride, Renee.
Hello.
And we have a very special topic today. What are we going to talk about? Sweetheart, love of my life, my bride.
We're going to talk about what it's like running a business with your spouse.
While you're married to your business partner.
So what's
Yikes.
what's it been like running a business with your wife?
Well, I guess first of all, we want to discuss what marriage is existentially. Or do we not want to get that deep?
It sounds like you have a plan.
I always have a plan, baby. And my plan is to hand it off to you first.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start with we've been running a business together now we've officially been running it for 6 months, but we've been planning it for almost a year. Right? Yeah.
Heavy duty, actual intentional planning, but we've been dreaming about it for a couple years now.
Yes. And when we tell people that we run the business together, a lot of people, at least for me, will say, what's it like running a business with your spouse? I'll hear, oh my gosh, I could never own a business with my spouse.
It's because their spouses aren't me, baby.
This is true.
Very true.
This is true. So I was going to start off with, let's talk about, is it what we expected? And maybe what's been unexpected? Like, what's your biggest surprise?
I think it's been pretty as expected for me, just because
What did you expect?
I expected it to be pretty smooth. It's actually, so going into the unexpected, it's actually probably been a little bit smoother than I expected because we haven't had many fights. I don't know if we've had any real fights about the business,
No, we've fought more over your promos than we have about the business.
or food.
Or food,
The important things in life.
I would say our normal marriage arguments are more prominent than the business arguments.
Yeah, we always choose to be on the same side, and we had to have some talks about that just to make sure we can have disagreements, but we have to make sure that we back each other up and don't throw each other under the bus, don't bury each other. We always are holding each other in high esteem and high regard.
Yeah, and also, very important point here to let the listeners know, we've been married 8 years this year and together for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
If we had started a business probably even 3 years ago, I don't think it would have been as smooth.
Well, that was my next point is we've been running a business for 5 years now because we have a 5-year-old. So we had to have her buy into the culture and the atmosphere. And then we've got a little terrorist 2-year-old as well. So running a household is a lot like running a business because we decided, like we said before, to be on the same team, never throw mommy under the bus, never talk bad about daddy in front of the kids. We're standing in solidarity. We're a team, and we are management, and so we can't undermine each other. We can't downgrade each other. We have to, if they ask a question, well, what did mommy say? Well, she said no. Well, then the answer is no.
That's a good point. Raising those two lunatics has definitely prepared us to run this business where now we have 30 lunatics. No, 30 kids, really, to manage. But it's no surprise that our faith is it's the foundation of our marriage. And without that, that really provides, the foundation, the blueprint, to say, of how to run this and how to run the ship, how to run the family, how to run the business. And back to what you said, it really is about choosing you every single morning and knowing that you're on my team and not against me, that we're working towards the same goal. And we have to stay united as a united front, and raising the kids has trained us in that. From the simplest example of what you said of, her asking you for candy and then coming to me 2 seconds later.
Because I always say yes.
You do.
And you always say no.
Yes, I do.
Well, who does she love
It's
more?
bad. You need to say no more.
I need to say no more? You say no enough to me on candy. I need to say yes to somebody.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, that's a good point, because you talked about faith. And our marriage definitely there has been growing pains. We feel like it's been pretty seamless. Like it's been, I don't know if easy is the right word, but I think it's our perspective as well. We always choose to be on each other's side and on each other's team, and we answer to God. So I feel like with that foundation, it smooths out a lot of roughness that we could have had. And so taking that into a business, we take that same mindset. And so don't get me wrong, we disagree about things, but we always do it try to be a civil manner, and we always respect each other. And especially in front of the kids and in front of our members, we have to show solidarity in our mindset, even if we disagree on smaller things. We always have to agree on the big things,
Yeah, absolutely. And we have had disagreements. That's probably, if you were to ask me, like, what's the biggest learning or challenge that we've had, it's not putting the marriage to the side, because you never do that, but like when you come to a conversation where you're gonna challenge each other in a way, like, hey, I don't like the way that you said that, or you could have said this better. I felt like you disrespected me here, or hey, I felt like you were a little harsh on our staff member, or so and so here. We have had a few disagreements on that, probably because of the way it wasn't the rebuke itself, because both of us can take criticism. I mean, you're in pro wrestling, like you get criticized every day, and
Yep.
I'm in corporate America, plenty of criticism there. We can handle criticism and challenges, but specifically being married, it's a delicate balance on how you deliver a rebuke to your spouse. And I'm very guilty of not delivering it appropriately a few times. And you're shaking your head. You're like,
Yes.
yeah. I come off very aggressive at times, and just I'm much more quick to forget that I'm talking to my husband, like transparently, and hurt his feelings. Which I've felt really bad about, and that's being 100% honest in this scenario. It's like I've been the one that's come off a little bit harsh in the past, so I've made, and rather than like get mad at you and be like, oh, you're too soft or like too sensitive, that's not true. Like I hurt his feelings, and I was being a jerk. I wasn't thinking about you. I was coming off too harsh. So I would hope that you would think that I've gotten a little bit better at that in the last 6 months.
Yes, she is slightly less of a jerk now.
Thank you. That was a great compliment.
See? Compliments. See? No, I do have, especially with her, like I want her to see me as, super dad, super husband, the leader. Yeah. So any type of weakness or vulnerability, which I obviously have because I am human and I'm not perfect, although it may look like it. It is tough to swallow that pill sometimes, but it also goes back to humility on my end, being able to, something that I've had trouble with and working on in our relationship and in the business, is admitting when I'm wrong, apologizing, or, taking something that wasn't maybe my idea, because you don't want to have, not invented here syndrome, where if it's not your idea, you don't like it, or if somebody comes and improves upon your idea or has a better idea, don't just automatically, throw it away because you feel offended. So I think it's been very good for us to go back and forth, and like you obviously give me a lot of critique in wrestling and in promos, and which is good, and social media, because you are kind of an outsider as far as the wrestling bubble, so I like to bounce things off of you. And obviously you are a marketing guru, so anything social media or marketing related, I obviously want your input. But you also come to me as co-owner of this business with, things as small as the structure of sentences and emails, or like graphics, or like what words go where, things like that. We're always bouncing ideas off of each other, which is good, because I think just communication is the biggest thing.
Oh, it's 100% communication, not like taking something and just driving it on our own, which is something that I've been used to. Only child, type A, independent, and this will get into like a whole slew of like personality and just marriage things in general. But like when you take that and put it in a business, and knowing that, and really just relinquishing control, which is just life in general, and trusting you and knowing that we're in this together, and working together. And man, like once that started happening, I felt like the wheels just started turning. Like everything just escalated.
Yeah, and you've had to work on that in our marriage in general, just because you are used to, if it's done, I'm going to do it myself, and being independent and being the only child, and having all of these outside and self-imposed like expectations on you. The perfectionism that you've had to deal with and overcome. So yeah, you've definitely done a better job. You've done a great job at bringing things to me, and I'm almost kind of the opposite sometimes, where I bring everything to you, where you're like, just make the decision, and that's probably because I'm the baby of my family, and I'm used to having the decisions growing up made for me already, and you just kind of tell me where to go or where to be, and I'll go there. So it's kind of like a delicate balance that we have to strike in between the two, where I'm not always just like, I don't know, you just make up their mind, and you're not just like, well, I'm just gonna do this, and he's gonna, who cares,
Yeah. Along with communication, I mean, knowing your spouse's love language is just huge.
Cookies.
Yes. I mean, if someone needs to call Gary Chapman, is that his name? Mm-hmm. The love language author, and put cookies in as one of the love languages.
That's number one, baby.
But for real, even if you don't own a business, I would recommend anybody that's married to read the 5 Love Languages book. It is.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's a reason it's like the top selling book, probably behind the Bible. That's a quote or a stat I just made up, but I know it's sold a ridiculous amount of copies. And we read it right soon after we got married. And your number one love language is words of affirmation. Mm-hmm. When I tell you words of affirmation is I'm surprised it's even number 5 for me. Like it might not even be on my list. It's
cookies is higher, probably.
Cookies for me, it'd be higher, yes. So these words of affirmation and quality time, and I'm quality time and physical touch, which I think mine's changed a little bit. When you have kids, I think like acts of service probably like went a little bit higher for both of us. But the words of affirmation one was a big sticking point for us because of that. Like he shows love by giving compliments and being kind and lifting other people up. And I am an only child that was super independent. I was also an only grandchild. I was just around adults my whole life, and kind of had to hype myself up my entire childhood. So for me, it's like weird to say, but like I don't really need that. Like that doesn't fill me up. People telling me I'm good or like I look nice, like I appreciate it.
You do, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm like, oh, that's sweet. But like, does that fill my love tank? Like, I could go without it. But for like, that's a big deal in a marriage, because if I'm not filling him up with that, there's gonna be problems. And in the beginning, we had to work through that.
Yeah, and I think that you should run your marriage as a business. Like you're always selling yourself, no matter if you are in sales or if you're not. You are selling your ideas to people. If you're trying to make friends, you're selling yourself to that person and trying to make yourself desirable so that person wants to spend time with you. And obviously, when I first met Renee, I was courting her and I was selling myself to her, and she bought it hook, line, and sinker, obviously. And now the goal is kind of switched to like keep her. Like keep selling that she should stay married to me. And I feel like so many marriages, like they think once the marriage is, or once the wedding's over, then they're like, all right, well, we're stuck together for life. I don't have to try anymore.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yes, well, exactly. I don't. Well, that was my next point. That's why the divorce rate is so high.
Yeah.
But you're always selling yourself, and something that I've been trying to be more intentional about is selling this marriage to her, and being the type of man and the husband and leader that she needs and she wants. So, you know, she won't ever have those feelings, and we won't end up as another, statistic.
Yeah, and we won't.
Yeah, yeah. But speaking of statistics, I've got one
Oh.
I'm about to hit you with. Hope you're ready for it.
Yes.
If you were to guess the divorce rate of entrepreneurs who are married, who start a business together, what do you think the divorce rate is of that?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, it's like 50% in general.
Mm-hmm. But if you start a business together, what do you think the divorce rate is?
I mean, like it's either going to be 90 or like 2. Like I could see both ways. I'll say like 75%.
7.
It was the other way. Fun fact about me, if there's a 50-50 choice, I will pick the wrong one
Every time.
every single time.
But yeah, that was crazy to me. So
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, you have to have that commitment to each other, and you have to have that faith and that trust. And 7%, it's crazy. So if you don't want your marriage to fail, just start a business. The business might fail, but at least you'll stay married.
Well, I wonder what the correlating statistic is of like how many of those businesses survive.
I
find that
yeah,
after.
well, I guess in the end, it doesn't matter if it, quote unquote, possibly potentially saves your marriage.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you for finding that.
Yeah, it was cool. You made up yours. I actually researched mine.
Yeah, you came prepared. Thank you.
I always do, baby.
Yep.
But yeah, it's crazy. But I'm sure that those 93%, hopefully, they took the time and actually, if they're going to open up a business with their spouse, chances are that they kind of run their marriage as a business already, and they value each other, and they defer to each other, and they bounce ideas off each other, and they respect, and they're always on each other's side. So that's why I think you should run your marriage like a business. Make sure all of your employees are happy. Always be selling yourself. Always be creating the type of atmosphere and culture that you want. Otherwise, you'll end up on the other end, and you won't be happy.
Yep.
And you'll either have a dead end marriage that you're not happy in, that you're kind of just quote unquote stuck in, or you'll get divorced. But thank God that we had enough wisdom, I guess, that we decided to do that from day one, and it's worked in both our marriage and our business.
Can I just say, I've never had more fun, like with you and living life with you, than running this business.
It's crazy because you feel alive. I remember like this time a year ago, we both had our corporate jobs, which we still do, but we both worked from home, and you'd be in the room, and I'd be in the dining room, and we'd be on our computers, and we'd be home all day, and I would go to the gym and you'd go to the gym. But other than that, like, we really had no outside interaction. We'd both clock out at 5, we'd get the kids, we'd had dinner, go to bed, and do the same thing the next morning, the next day.
It was so unfulfilling.
It was
and boring.
It was nice looking back, it was nice to have a lot of free time, but at the same time, back then we were like, man, I wish we were doing more.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you want free time, or do you want to feel like you're on purpose and living your calling?
Yeah. And you can imagine our conversations around the dinner table usually are about the business.
Yeah.
It doesn't turn off, which, like my mom will call me a lot and be like, just make sure you take care of yourself. Like, she's real worried that I'm stressing myself out too much or working too hard. But I don't think she realizes how much fun we're having doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but if I wasn't doing this, I'd be sad. Like, I want to run the numbers.
Yes, you do.
Want to
And you do.
create a deck. I want to make videos. I want to sit there and I want to go on a vacation with you and just brainstorm on the beach about the business. Like, that's fun to me.
So for a married couple who's looking to start a business, what's one thing, or the biggest thing that you'd recommend?
The biggest thing I'd recommend is make sure you both know exactly why you're doing it, and make sure it's the same reason. Mm-hmm. And it can't be to make money.
Yes.
Like, it just can't. Because I tell you what, it's going to take a while to make some money. So if your goal is to go and get rich quick together, and just ride off into the sunset, don't do it. I would say just sit down, decide where you guys want to be in 10 years, like where you see your future going and what kind of life you want to live. And if the business, it was what gets you there and is what it is, go for it. But just make sure your why is right and it's united.
Okay.
What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to just, I think, communication and being open and honest and transparent. And that's before you start the business and going into starting the business, and even more so after the business is running. You need to be open with each other. You need to be honest, because if you're harboring resentment and that leaks into the business, that's not going to be good. You're going to make bad decisions in your business and your marriage. So I think just honesty and being open and being able to have, an open door policy and bring things to each other and be in the tree of trust.
A bonus one. And if your business is going to have employees or members like we do, people like that look to you for things, the communication is even more vital. Can you imagine if we walked in here fighting every day? Like people would feel it and like know that we weren't united in what we were trying to do. And why would anybody get behind that? Like I wouldn't want to be a part of that. So it's really important for us to be just together in this and united and happy, like, and have fun doing it. Also, if we walked in miserable, like they're miserable, like why are we even here?
Yeah. We've done a really good job in setting the tone. What kind of culture, what kind of atmosphere is in here, and the members, thank God, like credit to them, they've really bought into it and taken it and even ran with it. So set the culture. Definitely your intentions and what you want the business to look like, to feel like, to be like, when you experience it, that all needs to be clear, and you need to be on the same page. You can have debates, you can have discussions, you can have arguments about it, but those core principles, they need to be aligned. Yeah. What do you think is the hardest part?
I'd say, I don't know. It really, for us, I don't think it's been that hard, which I'm very grateful for. Probably, I do think it's important to find time to shut off. Okay, and we can't.
Well, that's why on Sundays we take the Sabbath.
We do. So we are closed on Sundays for the Sabbath, but like we need a day of rest.
It's zero work on Sundays.
We're here, like we still work our corporate jobs. We have 2 kids. We like are running this business. Our Mondays through Saturdays are bananas, and our kids are getting older now. So we had 2 birthday parties on Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
It was insane. And then the show this Sunday. So I think finding time to recharge and talk about things that don't have to do with the business is important. And that's been hard for us because we're just always on. So that's probably it for me. What about you?
Yeah, just relaxing and not thinking about it. I think it's been great, on our off days or days where we're not here at night, we just kind of veg out and either go on a date night or, we watch a show together, or we have a bonfire, or, go for a walk with the kids, things like that. Just being able to unplug and kind of unwind and not always be staring at a statement or a spreadsheet or, scheduling or whatever, because you need to be able to turn it off, because we've got 3 jobs that we're both working, so it's good to prioritize and like time block and put things in the right compartment. You know what I mean?
I'm going to offer one more piece of advice. I'm like pulling back a little bit because I thought of it. For anybody, this is for any parents out there that have a dream and want to start a business and like they're really feeling like the call in their heart from God to like go do something to better his kingdom or, help people. But they're sitting there thinking, oh, well, I have young kids, or it's just not right. Like the time's not right. The time is never right.
Nope.
Like ever. Like think about if you have kids when you got pregnant with the first one, like you weren't ready. Nobody's ready. And
she's 5 years old and I still ain't ready.
We were not ready. So God made a way when there wasn't a way. And I like full-heartedly admit that, but you have to take the first step and be willing to do it. So I would just say don't wait around if you feel the calling and think, oh, well, I'll do it when my kids are older. Like, don't be the wantrepreneur. That was my biggest fear the last 3 years before we started this was I would always tell all my friends at work about all these ideas I had. And, 3 years into doing that, I realized I was being a wantrepreneur, and I was like, I do not want to be that. And look back and think, why didn't I just take the chance? Why didn't we do it?
Yep. And there we had a lot of other ideas that we thought were it, but then we decided once we started kind of getting around to it that we didn't really have a passion or a fire for it. So find, what kind of sets you on fire, what you have a passion for, and also, what you're good at and what you can get paid for. And when all those things, intersect along with obviously, what the world needs, what we're lacking in, if all those things can intersect and you can find that thing that you can do, like, go for it and just take that leap of faith, because I guarantee you it's better to take the leap of faith and look back in a couple of years and say, well, that didn't work, than to look back on your deathbed and be like, man, remember that one crazy idea we had? I wish we would have done that instead of just working our corporate job for the rest of our life. Not that there's anything wrong with a corporate job, but if you have a dream to go out and do something and you know that you're just holding back, don't hold back, because you will regret it, but you won't regret ever taking a chance on it.
And piggybacking on something you said, I truly believe that, God brings two people together that are different to complement one each other. Like, we fill each other's gaps, which is funny because that's usually why you fall in love with somebody, and then 5 years in, that's what drives you crazy about the person. But really, like, it's the yin to the yang. It's complementing each other. And if you are sitting there thinking, well, I don't have anything that I'm good at, or like I'm not equipped to do that. What God has given everybody some type of desire or passion on their heart. Is it like beekeeping? Is it like, maybe it's accounting? Like, it doesn't have to be something like, maybe you just love numbers. Like, everybody has some type of skill. It doesn't have to be something big and fancy. And he gave me a skill of marketing and creativity and leadership and organization, and he gave you a skill of, I'm just kidding.
Still waiting to find out.
Of charisma and the Riz, and being entertaining, and just having the kind Jesus servant heart that you have, and just being this entertainer and this pro wrestling dream, and having that dream with my market. Like, look at this. This is what was born. So whatever you and your spouse, what your passions are, and you put them together, I think it's quite an unstoppable force if you're on purpose.
So I've got a call to action for the viewers/listeners out there. I've given y'all some homework. Whether you're driving right now or, obviously don't do this while you're driving, but if you're working out, whatever, whenever you get time, jot this down in your phone or, on a notepad, whatever. 10 things that you feel that you are really great at, that you just knock out of the park, that you're really good at, whether it's beekeeping, whether it's accounting, whether it's numbers, whether it's encouraging, like whatever it is. You have a really good memory. Like, it could be anything that's super random. You remember people's names. So write that list down of 10 things, and then also go to your spouse and ask them 10 things that they feel that you're really good at. And hopefully they can find 10 things. I don't know if you could find 10 things. I
could find like a million. And make sure, you know what they could do? They could comment on the video and tell us
They
the
could
10 things.
comment. You got comment on the video.
That'd be great.
Yes,
Tell
absolutely.
us what they are. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it for sure. Because it's cool because everybody's so different, you know what I mean? And everybody has these different skills and gifts and talents and abilities. So yeah, comment on that, and we'd love to hear it. And
or what's the passion that you've been wanting to do?
Yeah.
Like, what's in the back of your head too? And like, man, I wish I could do this.
Something that you're like, I'm scared, I want to, but I don't know if I could. Trust me, you could.
We're a safe space, we promise.
Yeah. Let us know for sure. So awesome. And go get married and open a business in that order.
It's not for the faint of heart, but you can do it.
Yeah. It's take some resilience, take some teamwork, take some cojones.
Humble.
At least for me.
Pie.
Humble pie. Yep. So we're excited to hear from you guys and hope this served you. Just one thing, just remember, go out and take that leap.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
We love y'all.
We love y'all. This has been the podcast of champions.
Go mad.
Go mad.